President Bola Tinubu in the week rejigged his cabinet of 45 ministers, dismissing 5 and appointing 7 new ones. The president, who reassigned 10 ministers to new portfolios, also dismissed Uju Kennedy Ohanenye as Minister of Women Affairs, Lola Adijon as Minister of Tourism, Tahir Maman as Minister of Education, Abdullahi Gwarzo as Minister of State for Housing and Urban Development, and Jamila Ibrahim as Minister of Youth Development. Now, those selected for appointment include Bianca Odumegu Juku, Nentawe Yilwata, Maigari, Dingyadi, Jumoke Oduwale, Edi Maiha, Yusuf Atta, and Suwaiba Ahmad. The cabinet reshuffle has continued to generate reactions, with some saying the move was long overdue, while others argue that it was mere window dressing. For more insight on the cabinet reshuffle, we have politician and political commentator Adnan Mukhtar joining us from our Abuja studios. Good to have you with us. All right.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Now, looking at those who got the sack and the ones who were retained and, of course, reshuffled, do you think it was justified? You know, just give us your overview on the scenario.
I think this is something that Nigerians have been expecting, because the special advisor to the president on information and strategy has told Nigerians that the president is going to reshuffle his cabinet even before he traveled to London. So many Nigerians have been expecting that, and fortunately the president reshuffled the cabinet I think it was on Tuesday, and it came to so many of us by surprise, because we thought the president is going to fire non-performing ministers and retain the ministers that have performed excellently in their job. But in the case of some of the ministers that were fired, I realized that they have at least performed very, very well. And there are some ministers that are among the non-performing ministers, as analyzed by so many national dailies, including This Day, The Nation, and other newspapers. Unfortunately, that those ministers were not fired. But majority of the ministers that were fired on Tuesday were ministers that I think 50% of them are doing their very best. My surprise is that the sacking of a junior minister and leaving the senior minister. I believe that a senior minister and a junior minister are working together. So when you fire the junior minister and you leave the senior minister alone, what are you telling Nigerians? Are you telling us that the senior minister has performed while the junior minister has not performed? This is in the case of the State Minister for Housing and Urban Development. And I have looked at the scorecard. I look at it, and I have seen that the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development have at least performed to expectation. But if you said that, even I've seen it on some national dailies, that the sacking of the junior minister was as a result of the political imbalance, that he is from Kano North, Mr. Ganduje is from Kano North, the APC chairman, the deputy president of the Senate is from Kano North, and the chairman House Committee on Appropriation is from the Kano North. The president is trying to, create a balance by bringing someone from the Kano Central that will checkmate the governing New Nigeria People's Party of Kwankwaso in Kano. But still, if you look at the minister that was sacked, he was a former deputy governor, and he has some political heavyweights, and he's a stronghold, a former member of the Action Congress of Nigeria, who has been with the president for a very long time. And if you look at the scorecard, so that is one of the reasons why I said that the reshufflement and the sacking of some of the ministers has taken us by surprise. There are so many ministers that are not performing, which the president has supposed to look at them. Even the Minister of Education is doing very well. So I don't see any reason why you should, fire them, even though it's the prerogative of the president, but he owes Nigerians an explanation over this matter.
So are you bringing in some federal character interpretation or some ethnic coloration into this? Because you talked about the region or the area where those who were sacked come from. And if you look at the report or the statement issued by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, that Mr. Bayo Ononuga, he said that this was done after an assessment process, which of course involved a lot of appraisal and checking their, scorecards. That's the ministers, those who were performing and those who were underperforming. But I'd like to get your perspective. It looks like you are coming from the perspective of ethnicity and federal character.
You see, my argument here is you said that the ministers, as Bayo Onanuga said, that they were assessed based on their scorecard. But if you look at it, is that why will you sack a junior minister? In the case of the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, you sack the State Minister for Housing and Urban Development while the senior minister is there. They are working together. So I'm not bringing any ethnic coloration, because if you look at the ministers that were fired, some of them are from the southern part of the country and some of them are from the northern part of the country. We are looking at the matter I'm just justifying the matter that the president should have looked at the issue of performance very well, should have critically look at it. But unfortunately, on this issue of performing ministers and not performing ministers, on the case of the Kano, there's no any reason for sacking the State Minister for Housing and Urban Development, the Minister for Education. They have been doing very well. They're always on the news. And on the issue of ethnic coloration, if we will say we are going to bring the issue of ethnic coloration into this matter, then the president is not going to be spared. Because if you look at it now, Kano is a very big stronghold of the APC, and the president have secured a large number of votes there. The president has given Ogun State, I think, 4 ministers. In Kano, in the case of Kano, we have 2 junior ministers, which I believe if this junior minister that is performing very well, I believe that the president could have added another more minister for Kano State. Kano is supposed to have like 4 or 3 ministers looking at it, if we are going to look at it from political angle. But if we are going to look at it from assessment, from the scorecard, what have the ministers done, I think it's on record that these ministers, education, housing and urban development, state housing and urban, they have done very well. They have done wonders. It's there on the national dailies. People are going to see it. So there's nothing like that. But I believe that this reshufflement and the sacking of these ministers is politically motivated, even though it's done by the president. Now, people are supposed to say that, but it is politically motivated. Political this thing was given more emphasis than the issue of performance. There's nothing like the issue of looking at performance when you look at it.
But very good, Adnan. Now let's delve into the issue of the cost of governance. Of course, this scenario has preceded this moment. There are still concerns over the number of ministers in a federal cabinet in Nigeria, and there are calls for streamlining due to duplications and functions of some of these ministries, and of course those who head them, and of course a bloated bureaucracy. I'd like your thoughts on that. Should this government, regarding the clarion call for streamlining, could have seized the moment to at least, we've seen a bit of merging of some agencies, and of course, but it's not reflecting to the top regarding those who will head them. I'd like your thoughts on that.
You see, this issue of the cost of governance, reducing the cost of governance, is something that the president has given much emphasis on, and Nigerians were expecting to be seeing that in practical sense. But unfortunately, even with the recent statement of the president that all appointees, the ministers and the head of agencies should reduce the number of vehicles in their convoys, it says so much about that the president is willing to reduce the cost of governance. But people like me have been even critical of even having state ministers and what have you, so as to reduce the cost of governance. So in my own understanding, the government, the federal government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is not doing enough in the issue of reducing the cost of governance. When you look at there is hunger in the land, there's the removal of the fuel subsidy, people are struggling to have their 3-day meal in a day. So this is a there's a serious problem in the country. So I think the president should look at this issue of cost of governance again, should revisit it. That the issue of reducing cost of governance is beyond making press statements, is beyond that. It should be through actions by the president. The president can do that. It's not about reducing the number of convoys in the vehicles. It's about even, as you said, merging of some ministries. It's about reducing even the number of the ministers. I believe that even the number of the ministries that he merged are not much enough. There are so many duplications in so many ministries. Currently, there are ministries that have state ministers that don't even need to have that. They don't even need to have that. So I don't think the president is doing enough. Looking at the economic condition in the country, people are suffering. The president is just making some press statements and what have you to just impress Nigerians, but there is no any action in regards to reducing the cost of governance. And I'm calling on the president that the government should do should apply many measures that will reduce the hardships in the country. People are struggling to see to have what to eat.
Well, I'd like to know what measures you would suggest for the government to, put in place to reduce the hardship. And also the fact that some people have been saying that the announcement that preceded the cabinet reshuffling was not really necessary because it created room for lobbying and that it made the whole process more opaque rather than being transparent. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, ma. It's very true what you said. Even the announcement that there's going to be cabinet reshufflement, we heard that some investigative reports by some newspapers has said that so many of the ministers were visiting the president in London and in Paris to lobby him so that they can retain their seats. And that had happened. There's this allegation that had happened and that some of the ministers that's supposed to be even fired were not fired because they lobbied for it. They use people that they can have influence on the president to stop their sacking. So I think the president has not done enough. And in regard to the measures that the government should be taking, there are so many measures the government should be taking to address the issue of hunger, the issue of hardship in the country. I think it's beyond having palliative. It's about making a concrete, a good policy that will address this issue. Not about giving people a bag of rice, giving this. The government should increase this issue of minimum wage. Even the 80,000 minimum wage that some states are announcing, the federal government is announcing, is it 70,000 or what have you, is not enough for Nigerians. At a time where people are buying a bag of rice at 110,000 naira, a foreign rice, and the local rice, we are buying it at 100,000 naira, 97,000 naira. So I think the government must do something that is about increasing even the minimum wage. Because if you look at how the government is even buying presidential jet, is buying this and that, is making unnecessary renovations at vice president's office, at this office, and what have you, I think this money can be used in increasing even the minimum wage, increasing more empowerment opportunities for people, so that people can rely on themselves, and a lot more. Because people have been, I can say the government knows so many ways of handling this issue. Only that there's no the political will. The government is not really committed. Not even this government. Previous governments have not been committing themselves towards reducing or towards making the welfare of Nigerians a priority.
You've just hit the nail on the head there, the political will. Now, Adnan, looking at the pedigree of the reshuffled ministers, should we expect anything different prior to the period before the exercise? Those who were reshuffled, and already you noted some contradictions regarding the performance of some of them. But what are your thoughts here? What should Nigerians be looking forward to?
I think I thought that the president is going to, reshuffle some ministers to ministries that will suit their professional expertise. For example, now you will see that even the state minister for health, who was Dr. Alausa, who was moved to the Ministry of Education. When you look at it, you will see that I don't think that is going to play a very big role in bringing significant changes. When you look at the former minister or the sacked minister, Professor Tahir Mahmoud, is a lawyer, is an academic who has some knowledge about how the educational sector should be moved. You can't bring, I think, a medical doctor. I'm not saying that a medical doctor cannot do it, but I think someone who has an academic experience can do that much better than someone who is coming from a different sector. I think some of the ministers that were reshuffled to other ministries were moved to the ministries that I think they don't even have much experience about the goings of such ministries and the areas which the ministries is going to put much focus on.